A few months after his parents were divorced, little Johnny passed by his mom's bedroom and saw her rubbing her body and moaning, "I need a man, I need a man." Over the next couple of months, he saw her doing this several times. One day, he came home from school and heard her moaning. When he peeked into her bedroom, he saw a man on top of her. Little Johnny ran into his room, took off his clothes, threw himself on his bed, started stroking himself, and moaning, "Oh, I need a bike. I need a bike." A teacher cautiously approaches the subject of sex education with her 4th grade class because she realizes little Johnny's propensity for sexual innuendo. But Johnny remains attentive throughout the entire lecture. Finally, towards the end of the lesson, the teacher asks for examples of sex education from the class. One little boy raises his hand. "I saw a bird in her nest with some eggs." "Very good, William," said the teacher. "My mommy had a baby," said little Esther. "Oh, that's nice," replied the teacher. Finally, little Johnny raises his hand. With much fear and trepidation, the teacher calls on him. "I was watching TV yesterday, and I saw the Lone Ranger. He was surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of Indians, and they all attacked at one time. And he killed every one of them with his 2 guns." The teacher was relieved but puzzled. "And what does that have to do with sex education, Johnny?" "It'll teach those Indians not to fuck with the Lone Ranger." A teacher was working with a group of children, trying to broaden their horizons through sensory exploration. With their eyes closed, they would feel objects from pumice stones to pine cones and smell aromatic herbs and exotic fruits. Then one day, the teacher brought in a great variety of lifesavers, more flavors than you could imagine. "Children, I'd like you to close your eyes and taste these," announced the teacher. Without difficulty, they managed to identify the taste of cherries, lemons, and mint, but when the teacher had them put honey-flavored lifesavers in their mouths, every one of the children was stumped. "I'll give you a hint," said the teacher. "It's something your daddy and mommy probably call each other all the time." Instantly, little Johnny spat the lifesaver out of his mouth and shouted, "Spit him out, you guys, they're assholes." The former kindergartners were trying to become accustomed to 1st grade. The biggest hurdle they faced was that the teacher insisted on no baby talk. "You need to use big people words," she'd always remind them. She asked Wendy what she had done over the weekend. "I went to visit my Nana." "No, you went to visit your grandmother. Use big people words." She then asked Joey what he had done. "I took a ride on a choo-choo," he said. "No, you took a ride on a train. Use big people words." She then asked little Johnny what he had done. "I read a book," he replied. "That's wonderful," the teacher said. "What book did you read?" Little Johnny thought about it, then puffed out his chest with great pride and said, "Winnie the Shit." One day, little Johnny is sitting and watching his mother do the dishes at the kitchen sink. He suddenly notices that his mother has several strands of white hair sticking out in contrast to her brunette hair. He looks at his mother and inquisitively asks, "Why are some of your hairs white, Mom?" His mother replied, "Well, every time that a little boy does something wrong and makes his mommy cry or makes her unhappy, one of her hairs turns white." Little Johnny thought about this revelation for a while and then said, "You must have really pissed off Grandma." Little Johnny's neighbors had a baby. Unfortunately, the baby was born without ears. When mother and new baby came home from the hospital, Johnny's family was invited over to see the baby. Before they left their house, little Johnny's dad had a talk with him and explained that the baby had no ears. His dad also told him that if he so much as mentioned anything about the baby's missing ears or even said the word ears, he would get the spanking of his life when they came back home. Little Johnny told his dad he understood completely. When little Johnny looked in the crib, he said, "What a beautiful baby." The mother said, "Why thank you, little Johnny." Little Johnny said, "He has beautiful little feet and beautiful little hands, a cute little nose and really beautiful eyes." "Can he see?" asked little Johnny. "Yes," the mother replied. "We are so thankful. The doctor said he will have 20 on 20 vision." "That's great," said little Johnny, "'cause he'd be so out of luck if he needed glasses." Little Johnny goes to school, and the teacher says, "Today we are going to learn multi-syllable words, class. Does anybody have an example of a multi-syllable word?" Billy says moss, turk, bait. Miss Rogers smiles and says, "Wow, little Billy, that's a mouthful." Little Johnny says, "No, Miss Rogers, you're thinking of a blowjob." Little Johnny was sitting on a park bench munching on one candy bar after another. After the sixth one, a man on the bench across from him said, "Son, you know eating all that candy isn't good for you. It will give you acne, rot your teeth, and make you fat." Little Johnny replied, "My grandfather lived to be 107 years old." "Oh," replied the man. "Did your grandfather eat 6 candy bars at a time?" "No," replied little Billy, "he minded his own fucking business." Little Johnny returns home from school and says he got an F in arithmetic. "Why?" asks the father. The teacher asked, "How much is 2 times 3? "I said 6, replied Johnny. "But that's right," says his dad. "Yeah, but then she asked me, how much is 3 times 2? "What's the fucking difference?" asks the father. "That's what I said."